That's what he told us.
But Steve was college educated, great conversationalist, right?
I remember him talking about sugar being poison for your body. Yeah.
No, I didn't do them. These are just things I heard about.
Yeah.
I heard about.
Well, I don't believe that.
Being the oldest, you heard the most.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got the most memories.
Yes.
I'm curious about what your father was like. What was his personality like?
When my father, I don't remember a thing about my father.
You know what she used to tell me though, Anna? You used to tell me that when...
The only thing I remember was my father punishing me
That's always memorable.
for stealing a banana from the Jewish grocery store. And he made me go and apologize to the man for
Wow.
stealing that banana. That's the only thing I remember of my father.
What was your mother like when
Did
he
you ever
died?
steal again?
When he died,
Yeah, did she go through a tremendous grief? Because here she was,
my
she
mother
didn't
was
speak
very
English.
sick
Yeah,
after that.
it must have been very hard if you
I
think
had to
about
take
that.
care of Stephen. He was only 6 months old.
Right.
And I had to help her with Stephen.
Oh, you know,
And she took in
I happened to
sewing
go to Ocean Beach last
to
year,
earn a living.
and I
And she collected compensation for 6 months.
got off the bus and I went to go through the entrance and there was an
She
old
got
timer
6
there,
months
right?
compensation.
And he says,
What is
can you go in?
compensation? I know what it is.
This
I know
time
where
of
she
year, right?
worked.
Uh-huh.
It might have
Know
been
where
in
she
the
worked?
fall, but
Yeah, she was a
I
weaver.
says, I just want to
And
see
then when
Ocean
the
Beach. I
mill
says, I
went-
used to come here when I was a kid, right?
moved to North Carolina.
Well, he says, well, what's your name?
She
I
had to
says,
find a job.
Victor Waligurski. He
So
says,
she
oh,
got
he
a
says,
job
I know
at the
all,
sub-base.
you know, all the Waligurskis. I was
She
very
worked
close
there
friends
till
with
she was
Steve.
79
I didn't
years
go into
of
high
age.
school with him.
At the subway.
And he knew Steve,
She
Walt,
worked all
and
her
Vic.
life.
Wow.
Right, and my father, right?
Who was that?
I can't
brought
remember his
us up
name.
with no
I told everybody.
pension from
so
no
it
one.
wouldn't
remember
get
you
forgotten.
telling me.
They didn't have welfare
Forgotten.
then.
And it's
They didn't have
forgotten.
Every situation runs in the family. Yeah.
But,
I remember
I
him
haven't.
telling me when after this happened,
Yeah.
when it happened.
Yeah.
yeah,
Her
because
living.
it shocked me. He remembered everything about all of them. You know, where they lived. He lived in the next house to theirs, right? And so he knew everything about it, which surprised me. No, I think I talked to him.
Yeah,
for
what
2
are the
hours.
odds?
Did they go to
Meeting
the Buckley
somebody.
Schoolhouse?
Yes. Well,
I worked
Steve went to
there for a while.
Chapman Tech. He was a great football player. The smallest player on the team, he played defensive end.
Who was
For
that?
Chapman Tech, Steve.
Uncle
Steve
Steve?
was like a
Oh.
man of the world, you know what I'm saying? He
Compared
was,
to us.
he was like, yes, well, Walt was very reserved, very quiet. What he knew, you wouldn't know. He wouldn't talk about it. Steve was, you could talk with. He'd be in the middle of this conversation. He'd know everything you wanted to know and be perfectly willing to carry it on. But,
I remember he would leave.
Kind of like you, right?
even worse than I am. In other words, I
Try to
remember
have a relationship.
having a discussion with him the last time I saw him, right? He visited, I met him around Andy, right? And I said to him, I was talking about the political shifts that are happening in this country and what I thought of them and anything. He says, Vic, he says, what are you talking? I said, how I didn't like the way things were changing. He says, Vic, can you name one culture that didn't have huge sweeping changes after 250 years? In other words, he says, everything, he says, the 250-year cycle is up. He says, everything's going out. Right? So that, you know, that was his way he looked at it.
That sounds like my
And,
dad.
Yeah, perspective that.
I've had that conversation with my dad.
But he was like that. He knew what he was talking about and he was nice to talk to. Yeah, comfortable when you see him.
Yeah, I was saying that when you show up at all of a sudden feel comfortable. If you're shy as a child, you know, you're trying to visit and have a relationship and be polite, but you don't know
That's right.
the adults that intimate.
That's the way I
He'd
used to
show
feel,
up,
too.
and all of a sudden it was like you could
That's
really
right.
breathe.
And didn't he get out of World War II before Dad? Because I
Yes,
could
well, he was
swear
in
European
Italy.
Right, and he got
was in Italy during the 40, remember when the rained for 40 days in Italy outside of Naples at Monte Cassino, and it just rained and
I
rained.
don't remember, but I read about it.
Yeah, you wouldn't be there.
Well, you were up to your knees in mud, right? And you'd shovel out a foxhole, and the rain would fill it in, and you could feel it being filled in as you were sitting there, right? And he went through that, and he said, Vic, he says it was far worse than the war. He said the battle with the rain, he said the war was bad at that, in Italy at that time, right? Like there was a tremendous amount of casualties on the American side. And I think he was at the Orono River, right?
Oh,
But I remember Mom saying after, because where Tommy had polio and everything, I think I remember her saying how Dad was still gone and how Steve was such a help and comfort to her while he was away. Once he got home,
Well, he was.
took care of her.
He was. I can remember him coming over to Bill Harry when I was a kid. He'd come over.
Checking
and
on her and.
Babe Moran was even bigger than this.
Yeah. Now,
Babe
was he in
Moran-
the Coast Guard or what?
Yes, Babe Moran is in the Coast Guard.
See, geez, I
Stationed
know.
right,
It's not as bad as I thought.
stationed right in Groton.
Right.
And he used to come down every day,
Yeah.
right? And he'd
My mother was
massage Tom.
69.
Tom had polio.